Okay, boys and girls, we are starting a new lesson today, how to solve inequalities. So you'll notice that what we're talking about is basically the same thing that we have been doing with equations, except that the equal sign has been replaced with an inequality sign, meaning greater than or less than. Okay, so this inequality says x plus 5 is greater than 6. Okay, because that symbol, this one right here, means greater than. So how do you solve it? Well, let's write it down. X plus 5 greater than 6. Well, if that were an equal sign right there, let me change color. If that were an equal sign right there, what would we do? We would subtract 5 from both sides of the equation, but it's an inequality. But we do the same thing. So plus 5 minus 5 is 0. Bring down the x, greater than, don't write down equals, it's inequality. And then 6 minus 5 is 1. So there you go, you're done. This says now x is greater than 1. Now on a number line, what that means is, if I put 0 in the middle, and there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then on the other side I go -1, -2, -3. What this means is that if x is greater than 1, what I do is I leave an open circle at 1, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. Sometimes it's a filled in circle, we'll talk about that later. And where are the numbers that are greater than 1? Well, it's 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, all the numbers to the right. So we draw an arrow like this. And that is the solution on the number line that reads the same thing. So x is greater than 1 can be shown on the number line just like that. So go ahead and write that answer in. And now here we're going to talk about how you take this inequality and graph it. But first we have to solve it. So let's write it down. X minus 4 is greater than or equal to 13. And we just treat it the same way that we were solving our equations. We're going to add 4 to both sides. Draw our line. And now we bring down the x because -4 plus 4 is 0. Boom, boom. Bring down the x is greater than or equal to 13 plus 4. So x is greater than or equal to 17. Now, when the inequality says or equal to, this one right here, this says greater than or equal to, that's when the dot that I drew on the last problem gets filled in. So basically what I'm saying is this symbol is means an open circle on the graph, and so does this symbol, means an open circle on the graph. But this symbol means a filled in circle. And this symbol also means a filled in circle. Okay, so less than or equal to and greater than or equal to mean filled in circles. So let's find which one we're talking about. Okay, if x is greater than or equal to 17, that means that we are talking about this graph right here. Notice we have a filled in circle at 17, and we're talking about all the numbers that are to the right greater than 17. So that's what the that graph matches our solution in our answer right here. So here's another problem. It says, it's very similar. It says x plus 19 is less than or equal to 22. So we know what to do. We go ahead and subtract 19 from both sides. And we bring down the x because this cancels to 0. And x is less than or equal to 22 minus 19 is 3. So now we have to also graph the solutions, right? So on a number line, go ahead and put 0. And what I'm going to do now, instead of labeling all the numbers, I'm just going to label the important number that we need. We need to know what's happening at 3. Is there an open circle or a filled in circle there? Well, we can see that this inequality says less than or equal to, And when you see the or equal to, that's the line underneath, you know you need a filled in circle right there, right? Just like that. And then if it's less than 3, where are the numbers that are less than 3? Of course, they're to the left. Good job, boys and girls. So that's our graph. And here it just wants us to pick what we just drew. And we can see that. Now what I'm doing, boys and girls, is when I draw the number line, just to avoid confusion, I'll redraw it just like I did it before. What I'm doing is I'm taking a filled in circle at 3 and drawing the line that way. Now I'm drawing the solution above the number line. Can you see that? I have two lines basically, and in the answers it's not doing that, but you can see that this one means the same thing. Choice A. Same graph. Okay, rolling right along. Question 4 of 9. This one says mental math. Solve. X minus 20 is greater than or equal to negative 14, and then graph the solutions. That means use a number line. So let's take care of this. X minus 20 is greater than or equal to negative 14. So we know what to do. We are going to, first of all, add 20 to both sides to make 0 there, so that we can get the variable all by itself, or isolate the variable. That's what we call it. 20 minus 20 is 0. Bring down the x, bring down our inequality symbol, and now just take care of 20 and negative 14. 20 minus 14 is 6, and it's positive. There. And so I think we'll get to the graph on the next slide. So this is the solution right here. Go ahead and fill that answer in. Can you read what it says? It says x is greater than or equal to 6. And I'll go ahead and just draw the number line in also, because I don't think it's showing up on the next slide. So if I draw a number line, I'm going to always put 0 somewhere in the middle, and then I'm going to put the important number, which is positive 6. And I know that since it says greater than or equal to, I'm going to draw a filled in dot there, fill it in, and the numbers that are greater than 6 are 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to infinity, so it's that way. There we go. And rolling right along, question 5 of 9. It says, in order for students to have a club at school, they need a minimum of 28 students. If there are 19 students signed up for the club, how many more students does the club need? So, how many students does the club need? Well, if we do simple math and we say 28 minus the number of students that are already there, that makes 9. So the club needs 9. But if they got more than 9 students, that would still be okay, right? But if they got 8 students, that still would not be enough. So we would say that the club needs, or X has to be greater than or equal to 9. Because if they get 9 students, they'll have enough. If they get 10, they'll have enough. If they get 11, they'll have enough. Okay? So now we're talking about how do we translate this symbol into words. Okay? So do they need... Is the number of students that the club needs greater than? No, because it's greater than or equal to. So we know it cannot be choice A. What about choice B? The number of students the club needs is at most. So is there a maximum number of students that if they get them in the club, then they'll have too many? No, the problem didn't say anything like that, right? So let's read the last one. It says the number of students that the club needs is at least. And that's what we need. We need at least 9 students, or 10, or 11, or 12, or 13, or 100. So we're going to go with choice C right there. So this symbol, greater than or equal to, means at least. Okay? They mean the same thing. And rolling right along. This problem says error analysis. A math test asks a student to solve the inequality x minus 2 is less than 16, and then graph. Mason said the solutions are x is less than 14, and graph the solutions as shown below. Solve the inequality. We're going to do it ourselves, and then figure out what error Mason made. So here we go. X minus 2 less than 16. We know what to do now. We go ahead and add 2 to the left and add 2 to the right. Bring down our x, that becomes 0. Bring down our inequality, and 16 plus 2 is 18. So it looks like Mason probably subtracted 2 from 16 to get 14 instead of adding 2, which you should have done. So I think you can take care of this one now. Fill in the answers. Okay, so remember on the last problem, we said the solution was x is less than 18, right? And so we want to graph this inequality. So we need, what kind of circle do we need at 18? We need an open circle, right? And we need to show that all the numbers less than 18 are in the solution set. So this is the picture we're looking for. Does that make sense? And now we're trying to find what error might Mason have made. Well, we talked about it. What did we say? Did he add instead of subtract? No. Did he shade the line on the graph to the left when he should have shaded to the right? No. Did he fill in the circle on the graph where he did not fill it in when he should have? No. But this one, to solve the inequality, he subtracted instead of added, right? Because he got 14 instead of 18. So that's the one we want. This one right here. D. We're getting down toward the end. Let's read this one of these last problems. Question 8 says the temperature in a greenhouse should be 65 degrees or higher. So at least 65. One morning the heater stopped working. The temperature dropped 5 degrees before someone fixed the heater. The temperature was still at least 65 when the heater started working again. How can you best describe the temperature in the greenhouse before the heater stopped working? So the temperature in the greenhouse was at least, of course, what would we say? It says that the temperature, here's the important sentence right here. The temperature was still at least 65 degrees when the heater started working again. So when it was stopped, it was still over 65 degrees. So this has to be 65. That goes there in that box. Okay, last problem in the problem set. It says graph the solution. So we have 53 is less than x plus 21. And we know what to do. We are going to subtract 21 from both sides of the inequality. That makes 0. Bring down the x, bring down the inequality, and 53 minus 21 is 32. So how do you read this? Now we have to read it backwards, not left to right, but right to left. Well, let's start on the right. X is greater than 32. We can even just turn it around and write it like this if we want to. X is greater than 32. So we are looking for an open circle at 32 and all the numbers that are greater than 32. So that would be right here. X is greater than 32, but not including 32. There you go, boys and girls. I hope you have good luck on your lesson today, and let me know if you have any questions.